Now that you started a conversation with a random beautiful woman on the street, or in the grocery store, or in the club, wherever, and you've successfully fired your opener, and you're now starting a conversation with her. I have pretty eyes, Maria, but they scare me. Go away. Miss,
Thank you.
you have probably the prettiest resting bitch face I've ever seen.
Thank you so much.
What do you do next? What's the next step? That's what I'm going to be answering in this video right here, the second installment on my series called The Open. If you haven't seen the first installment of this series, please click on this link above here. I'm going to put it up here somewhere so that you can go watch it and so that this video can make a lot more sense to you. And if you would like to get further, more in-depth training on this very concept and concepts like this that lead you all the way up to getting the number, creating and setting up a date, running the date successfully, even consummating the affair, I highly suggest you get my training course, The Interview. The links to that and the ability to work with me one-on-one so I can actually train you on these things one-on-one are in the description below. Now, what is the next step? Back to the main question. What is the next step now that you've actually opened the conversation? Well, the next step is gaining compliance. You have to gain this thing called compliance. Now, what is compliance? Compliance is pretty much whenever she obeys any instruction you give or adheres to any requests that you have or buys into whatever frame you put forward. Basically, anytime she goes along with anything that you ask of her, that is compliance. I've never seen you around here before.
I'm not out for real. I just
Do you live around here?
I've been downtown.
Are you from here?
Yeah, like the east side.
And there's differing, varying degrees of it, but ultimately that's what it comes down to. Whenever she actually does the things you ask for, whether it's an action. Nice to meet you. Check. You can shake my hand. That's fine. Turn around for me.
Why?
Turn around.
No.
I'll turn around with you. Come on.
You already got my name, my number.
Just turn around with me. Come on. One more time. 2 turns. You just met me. What are you doing? I'm messing with you. Whether it's a question you ask her.
I'm waiting for my friend and this is too heavy.
Oh shit. Etc. Compliance is her continuing to participate in a conversation with you. That's all it is. And it's a very important concept. In fact, it's the very next thing you should do right after the opener. And I'm not talking about you have to wait for a certain thing to happen or you have to wait for her to give you some kind of signal first before you ask for compliance. I'm talking about the moment you are done firing your opener, no matter what reaction you get out of the girl, the very next thing you should do without even skipping a beat should be to ask for compliance. You have probably the prettiest resting bitch face I've ever seen.
Thank you so much.
What's your
Thank
name?
you. My name is.
I'm JP. And before we get into properly what the compliance you should ask for is and how it should be done, you have to understand a few things about compliance in general. Like, why do we even ask for it? Why is it so important? What is this thing? And how does it work? Well, you have to understand that compliance is important for 3 major reasons. There's 3 major reasons that you have to ask for compliance. The first one is the rather obvious one that no one ever thinks about, which is the fact that it's just about the only thing as a man that you want out of a woman. Think about it, right? We're men here. Let's be honest for a second. The whole reason you're watching this video right now, the whole reason you even came in contact with me or my content or anything that I've ever done on the internet is because on some level you know that you want to get women to do exactly what you ask them to. It's that simple. The only thing you will ever require of me, just the pickup scientist, is compliance from women and how to get it. That is why you watch my videos. That is why you want to understand how game works, etc. And there's no shame in that, by the way. I'm not saying that this means you're a bad person or anything like that. I'm saying that this is how fundamental compliance is and your ability to get it. This is why game exists, is to be able to extract compliance from women. That's the first major reason. It's a less obvious reason, but in my opinion, one of the most important. The second reason, and honestly the third as well, are 2 psychological principles that you have to tap into when you're asking a woman for compliance. The first one is essentially the psychological principle of liking. That is to say that women like men that they comply to. Now, if I were to tell you, which the opposite is usually the truth, right? Which is, if I were to say, a woman is more likely to comply to a man or do things for a man or make sacrifices for a man that she likes, no one would argue with that. That makes perfect sense. Everyone's kind of always known this since the beginning of time. What people don't seem to understand is that the reverse is also true. You can, so to speak, put the cart before the horse, and it works just the same. It works just fine. A woman invests herself more into and likes a man more when she does stuff for him. The more sacrifices a woman makes for a man, the more she likes him. So we ask women for compliance because we want to tap into this particular psychological principle and reverse engineer it. We want to create a liking for us in this woman by getting her to do things for us. Which brings me to the third principle, and honestly, probably the most important principle for long-term influence over women. And that is the principle, the psychological principle of persuasion called consistency. See, the thing is how it works. People want to be consistent to their identity. The identity they want to portray themselves to the world. The identity that they want the world to think of themselves, right? All these things come down to people's actions, their decision making, their thoughts, their feelings, whatever. But ultimately, people don't like the feeling of being a hypocrite. People don't want to be called out for being backtrackers, for being not consistent to who they claim themselves to be. Whenever they take an action in a certain direction, they want to keep being able to take an action in that same direction because they want to keep holding on to the identity that comes with being labeled with the kind of person that takes that certain action. And it's in the small things and the big things alike. Which, by the way, is why you're more likely to get people to comply to you on a bigger level when you have them do smaller, inconspicuous things for you in the beginning. Right? This is a basic, fundamental psychological principle that is used in just about every aspect of life. I'm talking about from TV to real estate to marketing and sales, and even here in pickup. If you can get people in general, not just women, to do tiny things for you, it's only a matter of time if you know how to manage it correctly before they start making massive sacrifices for you. You see this especially when it comes to religions and cults, right? No one ever goes from being a regular at a church all the way to being the person that invites other people to the church overnight. It doesn't happen that way. You start out as probably an even unbeliever. You probably start out as someone that doesn't even believe in the whole religion thing. And then you go to a couple of church services, and then you start giving your offering, a little financial investment there. And then you start really reading the Bible, really giving yourself into it. The next thing you know, you become a Bible thumper. Now you're standing on a literal soapbox preaching the word of God to other people, right? You see that a lot even in marketing. Take my business, for example. You start out by watching my videos. Then you probably get a free product, maybe an opener's guide. Link in the bio, by the way. Maybe you try the free device I'm giving you and you see the actual results happen for yourself. And then eventually you're getting to the point where we're working one-on-one, right? Full disclosure, that is how everything in the world works. That is how all persuasion works, is to get you to buy in at the smallest point, at the point where there's the least amount of friction, so that it becomes easier over time to get you to do the bigger things. And so the open, and this series in particular, this particular point in the series is where I teach you how to actually fire that first initial compliance so that it becomes easier for her to do things for you as time goes on. So this very first compliance you're asking her for, extremely important. If you don't get this one right, and if she doesn't agree to it, you're kind of fucked going forward. You need to make sure that you get this down packed. Now, it brings us back to the question we asked before. What is the compliance that we asked for in this particular point? It has to be something small, again, something inconspicuous, something that doesn't look like you're trying to get something massive out of her. I always say go with her name. Simple, straight to the point, and honestly, socially calibrated. It's something that you're expected to do when you first meet someone you don't know. Ask for her name, right? It's innocent and easy enough. And it's just enough for her to not see anything wrong with adhering to that request, right?
Thank you so much.
What's your
Thank
name?
you. My name is.
I'm Jason. What's your name, by the way?
Maria.
Maria. Jason. Nice to meet you. Please understand, though, the name is just about one of the simplest things you can do, but it's not necessarily the only thing you can do. Obviously, there's other types of compliance you can ask for, but I say to keep it simple for yourself, stick to asking for the name. Now, it's important to keep in mind that every bit of compliance you get in the beginning stages of interacting with a woman is so important because of the fact that you are not deserving of it. This is very important to always remember and to keep yourself humble in a way in the back of your mind, knowing that at any point in time, especially within the first 50 seconds of talking to a girl, she is well within her rights to turn around, walk away, and never speak to you again. So whenever you do ask for compliance, it's very important that once you get the compliance you're looking for, once she has actually decided to participate or continue participating and interacting with you, whenever she adheres to your requests, goes along with your frame, complies to you to any capacity, it's important that you reward said compliance. This right here is the single most important part of compliance as a concept. Not just asking for it, that in itself requires some tact, as we've discussed before, but actually being able to identify when you get it and remembering to reward it. This is so key. An inability to reward compliance as you go on, once you actually receive compliance, will lead in the end to you not being able to get more compliance going forward. Why? Because it has to feel good whenever she complies to you. That in itself is the motivation she has to keep complying to you into the future. Remember those examples I gave before of different sales funnels or different industries, or the church thing, religion, any kind of industry out there that takes advantage of the idea of compliance or a compliance ladder, which, by the way, I have an entire series on. If you haven't watched it, I'll link that up here. Go watch my entire series called The Compliance Ladder to really get a good understanding of how compliance works as a ladder, right? Every single one of these things, every single one of these aspects, they work like this because they're able to reward the subjects, the prospects, through the funnels as they go. It has to feel good as they go, which is why they want to keep going up the ladder, right? The analogy I would always use is, remember when you were a kid and you watched Tom and Jerry? And there were those scenes where Tom would try to lead Jerry out of his hole, his little Jerry Mouse house, by placing bits of cheese on a trail all the way to a bigger mouse trap where the big chunk of cheese would be lying in wait for him, right? The same thing is happening with women. You're giving her small bits of cheese as you go to give her a tiny little dopamine spike, right, throughout the conversation, so that she's more likely to keep going down the trail with you. It's that simple. That's exactly what's happening. How old did you say you were?
22.
Okay, all right, that's not bad. You're a lot more mature than I thought you would be.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think a 22-year-old should sound like you. It's kind of scary.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How old are you?
Guess. If I were to come to you and I were to tell you, listen, if you were to take this particular badge that says something that you probably politically believe in, whatever the hell you believe in politically, a slogan of some kind, and I say, wear it as a badge of honor on your chest for a week, that will lead into greater levels of compliance from you in the future. Why? Because you're proud to be wearing that badge. You're proud of the status that badge gives you in front of other people, like-minded people like you that share your values. And as a result, if I come later and go, wear a badge that says that slogan and a hat, you'll do both. Because you've been rewarded by that little badge. The same thing applies to women. When you're asking her for compliance, let's say something small like her name, what will make her be more likely to comply to you with something greater in the future, like, for instance, get naked with you, is how good you make her feel to do the small thing. Rewarding her for the small thing is what gives her hope to comply to the bigger things. That is what train her faith in a way, so that she's more likely to do the bigger things in the future. So when you get that name, once you get her to give you her name, it's extremely important that you give her what is called a compliment. Because ultimately, that is what a compliment is, and that is what a compliment should be used for. I like your feminine essence.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You caught my attention.
It's just a woman who knows how to budget shop. You know what I mean? I love.
You see, you've probably heard all the red pill guys tell you dumb shit like never compliment a woman, never validate a woman. That's cute, but what these red pill people, all these men in the red pill space, don't seem to understand about how compliments work with women is that it's not the compliment that destroys your value or that makes you look lesser or weaker to a woman. It's when it's used, it's how it's fired. And with compliments should and always have been conditional. A compliment should only be used as a way to telegraph interest when you get compliance from a woman. So they're right in saying don't compliment a woman recklessly. That's very true. Do not just go up to a woman and compliment her off rip. That's not going to work most of the time. But you should use compliments strategically as a way to reward her for getting closer to you and for continuing to have a conversation with you. So understand that the entire point of this particular video right here is to get you to see the value of rewarding compliance correctly. That's the point of this video. Make sure and please remember, for the love of God, to reward compliance. When you ask for compliance from women, reward it. When you ask for compliance from women, reward it, especially in the beginning. You want to make them feel good for going along with your compliance. Okay? All right. Now that you understand how rewarding compliance works, let's zoom out a little bit. Let's look at the whole process so far from a bird's eye point of view. And it's important that we see this so that we can understand what we're actually doing here in this conversation. Mind you, this part 1 and 2 of this particular series has only really covered the first 20 seconds, really, of a conversation. That is what we've gone into so much detail with. 20 seconds, the first 20 seconds. But why is this 20 seconds so important right here and so far? It's very simple. Because we're creating a few underlying circumstances, a few things in the situation that benefit us going forward into the rest of the interaction. Let's see what we're actually doing. First, we created an opener. An opener isn't just a way for us to actually create some kind of attention coming our way from the girl. It's not just also a way to put us in high psychological position to the girl. It's also a way for us to create this thing called tension. Tension, in a very simple way of putting it, is a way to create a feeling of unease in the conversation. Tension makes women feel not necessarily bad or uncomfortable, but it makes them feel like they don't have the power in the conversation. It makes them feel like they're at the mercy of you. That is why we emphasize using openers that give us the higher psychological positioning and to do them in such a way that we grab her attention immediately. Right? So we had the opener do that for us, create tension, right? That feeling of unease. Think about when you're watching a scary movie, for instance, and you're in anticipation of the masked murdering serial killer popping out of the side of the screen and you don't know when it'll happen. That feeling of anticipation, that's tension, that's expectancy, that's uneasy, that's anxiety, but it's a good thing because it's a prerequisite for attraction. We're creating attraction with this tension here, right? Immediately we've done that with the opener, boom, we go right into compliance testing or asking for compliance. Why is that? Because we're essentially holding the conversation hostage with the tension we've created. Right? That's what's happening in the background now. This is the subcommunication part of things. We are holding the conversation hostage with this tension we've created. And we're saying, hey, if you want to gain relief from this tension you feel right now, you have to do what I say. Comply to me. That's what we're doing. And so when we give her a compliance test, we're essentially giving her an out, a path to an exit so that she can escape feeling the tension she feels currently. We're giving her a chance to alleviate herself of the tension she feels. And so when she complies to us, and then we subsequently reward her for her compliance, that's our way of releasing the tension. That's our way of making her go, okay, cool, you've obeyed my request, you've actually adhered to my request, here's relief from the tension that I promised you. That's what's happening. Oh wow. I'm talking. Oh no. I'm talking to an Easter egg girl. Oh no. I've heard a lot of things about y'all.
Really?
Yeah.
No, nothing.
Nah. It's all making sense now. It's all coming together. Oh my goodness. I'm talking to a real life demon.
Oh my
No.
god, maybe.
No. You get up to no good, don't you? No. I'm in trouble. That's what's happening, right? You've been sizing me up this entire time to like figure out if I can fit through the gates of hell with you, right?
Yeah. I think you state people are nice. Well, I
They
mean,
they appear to be nice, but you should know this. Come on, you're from there. They appear to be nice, but you know how you get down. You're a bad person deep down inside. I know you are. You're a bad person, and that's okay. I'm a bad person too. It's fine.
aren't we
It's
all a
fine.
little bit?
We are, but Eastgate, y'all are evil. How old you say you were?
22.
Okay, all right, that's not bad. You're a lot more mature than I thought you would be.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think a 22-year-old should sound like you. It's kind of scary.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How old are you?
Guess. Now, why am I explaining it like that? Why is this important to understand? Because this right here, that process of making women feel tension, asking them for compliance in return for releasing the tension, and then gaining the compliance and rewarding their compliance by relieving the tension. And by the way, you do that by rewarding compliance. That entire process right there, that is what a good conversation looks like, but repeated over and over and over again. So the idea is to take that first 20 seconds we just talked about, creating tension, asking for compliance, rewarding the compliance, and repeating that over and over and over again. And that becomes not just the first 20 seconds, but the first 3 to 5 minutes of a conversation with a woman. That's really what a conversation should look like in the beginning. That's how you increase attraction. That is how you increase emotional relevance. That is how you get a woman to be actually truly invested in talking to you. On top of that, that is the sneakiest and best way by far to create a frame that benefits you. A man to woman frame. A frame where the woman feels like she is a woman of interest talking to a man of interest. A man that is there for romantic purposes. Does that make sense? So, this entire process right here, this first 20 seconds, is something you're going to repeat over and over and over and over again until you decide to get to the final portion of the initial approach of the woman, which is the major checkpoint, which is getting her phone number, which is getting some kind of contact information, which we'll talk about in the next part. But for now, what you need to understand is that entire process of creating tension and releasing tension systematically through the use of her compliance, that is what a first conversation is essentially. That is actually what it looks like. So go ahead right now and do your best to practice this process over and over and over and over again. This is really what it comes down to. The better you get at each particular point of this model, this system, the better you will be at talking to women consistently. The better you will be at creating attraction effortlessly. The better you will be at getting women to be invested in talking to you and emotionally invested in wanting to see you again later. Okay? If you want to go into even greater detail into this, the nitty gritty of it, just understanding all the tiny little moving parts of it that make it even easier for you to grasp and understand and execute on, I highly, highly, highly suggest again, shameless plug, my training course, The Interview. This is where you will learn everything you need to know about how to do this correctly over and over and over again. And again, the option is always there if you just want to bypass the learning by yourself curve and, going through months and months of making mistakes and coming back from it. You just want someone to hold your hand through the process and teach you and show you by themselves straight up. That's where I come in. You can work with me one-on-one. The link to all those things will be in the bio. In the meantime, I will love for you to go through the first part of this video series. The first installment, it's very important to go over it again. Go through understanding how the opener works. Until next time, it's been just for a scientist with all this information. What must be done?